Hello everybody, I hope you're having an awesome 4th of July weekend. So this video is about what happened on the Young Jurks channel. So I'm over there just, bebopping in his Young Jurks channel live stream, right? So he's talking, there's like various things being discussed. So I bring up the 71 count indictment. So if anybody knows my channel, I'm all about, you ain't got to hide that 71 count indictment, right? I know the local media there is had some coverage of it. But anyways, so I mentioned the 71 count indictment of the 6 Massachusetts state troopers, since the update is that they did have a trial and they convicted one and the other's sentencing is this month, right? So there were some viewers that had not heard of it. Well, imagine that. They hadn't heard of it because these channels are not discussing it. And the mainstream media is not covering it. And Court TV is not covering it. But you got Dateline doing interviews with the Alberts and the McCabe's talking about conspiracy. Count how many times they used the word conspiracy theory in that specific interview, right? Anyways, so the people in the live stream are like, Missy, come up, you should go up. And like his StreamYard thing wasn't working for me. I guess I had to like sign in my account or whatever. So I'm like, well, you know what? He's covering this trooper interview thing right now, so I don't want to interrupt, right? But they kept asking me. And so then the moderator says, hey, Mike, your link's not working. Your link's not working. So anyways, he's like, well, must be something on your end. So I go ahead and I had to like sign in my account or whatever. So they're wanting me to come up to specifically discuss the 71 count indictment. I'm like, okay, I'll do this. Even though I already know what's going to happen because he's not covering the 71 count indictment or the fact that the mainstream media is not covering it. So I was a little leery, okay, but I've been going to Young Jurks because a lot of people came to my channels like, Missy, you should go to Young Jurks, you should go to Young Jurks, right? I'm like, first of all, my channel doesn't really cover a whole lot of legal stuff. I'm more of gamer and crafting, but if I see injustice, I'm an advocate against injustice, right? I'm not an attorney. I did graduate from paralegal school, then I went to law school, but when I applied to law school, it was like, I'm never going to be an attorney. That was not my goal, right? I just want to be involved in advocacy, in research, and, I just want to be a part of fighting for disabled people and specifically against injustice. And that's what I do, right? But I kind of work behind the scenes, if you will. So I'm not somebody who gives legal advice or anything like that, but I care of the whole picture. And it irked me that they think that they're going to hide the 71 count indictment. And here's why it matters. Okay, so this guy's like, so I go up there and I just want to, I just start talking about the 71 count indictment. He's like, oh, nobody's hiding that. And then he starts quoting, I'm Googling it now, and then he starts quoting local media. And so I'm very polite, and I'm just like, okay, yeah, this is how I thought it would go. And so I'm like, yeah, but that's not mainstream media. And then I bring up Dateline, and he just shuts me down. Now, ask yourself why he would do that. When his viewers are wanting to hear about the 71 count indictment, why is he being so dismissive? This is a pattern. I'm telling you now, if you don't believe me, go to these channels who are covering the Karen Reed case and try to bring up the 71 count indictment and watch what happens. And these people that are like the Court TV, oh my gosh. Here, let me break it down to you. I said, I'm so going to school you on this. Yes, I did. What is the difference between mainstream media and local media? The key differences between mainstream media and local media type primarily in their scope, their audience, their funding, and their content focus. Here's a breakdown. Young Jurks, let me break it down for you. Scope, broad, often national or international. They cover events and issues that have a wide impact. Large, diverse, and geographically dispersed. They aim to reach a mass audience. Funding, primarily profit-driven, often owned by large corporations or conglomerates. Local media, narrow, focusing on a specific geographic community. Audience, residents of that particular community. Okay? So, why does it matter? Well, this is a case where, I don't know, I think maybe a lot of people think that Karen Reed's lawyers are working for free. Okay, she's got millions in deferred fees owed, and yeah, she's getting book deals or whatever, but she's got this lawsuit also hanging over her head. Okay, and corrupt judges already in that state. Don't tell them what's going to happen there. Keep them in prayer. But when you have people on a global scale who are funding her dream team, if you will, and then they see national mainstream media sources like Dateline, which I tried to bring up but was quickly shut down by Mike Crawford, it matters. Because it is, just imagine people who don't have money, who don't have the resources and the national attention on their case. So who funded her dream team? Well, like people around the world literally did. Not just people in Massachusetts. People literally around the world funded her team. And, you know, people actually flew from around the world to show up at her courthouse. Isn't that awesome that people from around the world care about justice, not just in their own land, but that they would give up their vacation time and spend their money to go sit outside a courthouse and showing us support, standing up against injustice. To me, that's phenomenal. So this is why it matters that mainstream media is not covering it, and you have a criminal trial of the Massachusetts state troopers. Well, granted, in federal courts, you're not going to have the media, right? But then you have Dateline. As soon as Karen Reed is acquitted, for the second time of second-degree murder, by the way, and she's acquitted of all charges. Thank you, Lord. All charges. What does Dateline do? They bring those people up there who say that, and they use the words conspiracy theorists, conspiracy theorists, conspiracy theorists. And basically, you know, that's a type of mainstream media source. They cover things that's in the news. They cover cases. And people around the world watch that, right? And so these channels like Court TV, who are not covering that 71 indictment. The entire conversation of the 71 indictment is that, one, they falsified records. There were text messages that talked about how malicious they were with their power. And they would, just for not liking somebody, they said, I'm going to blank that person up. They're never going to get a license. Just because they didn't like something they said. Right? So that is, it just wasn't discussed. And I have been bringing the 71 count indictment up repeatedly, and I have found that 90% of the people who see my video had never heard of it, right? And so, Young Jurks, you are so fired. I was so disappointed because this is the only channel, by the way, who has had Abby of the Video Jesus channel on their live stream talking about in detail that photoshopped video. And here's the thing about how important that is also is because there's a lot of trolls out there. Oh my gosh. There's a lot of them. And a lot of them just use like anonymous names or whatever. But they're so aggressive and they're so hateful and to the point of being abusive. They're just constantly like looking for anybody talking about the Karen Reed case, just so they attack you. This is why I have all comments held for review, because I'm not going to let any of these trolls come on my channel and just talk smack to my viewers, right? It's like, this is a troll-free space, okay? And so these trolls are out there in any way they can, and they're very active, trying to debunk the photoshopped, the altered, you know, stuff. And they absolutely, not only did they alter the video evidence, but an FBI investigation, they obstructed the justice of that investigation by hiding videos that didn't even come out until like right before the trial, like the hour of the trial. They're coming out with videos that they hid, right? So we got this petition going, right? And so you've got this lady who, I'm not sure exactly how she got access to the metadata. Of course, you know, there's no original video that she was able to work, but it doesn't matter because all she has to do is do an analysis. And she found not only that stuff was altered, she showed exactly how it was altered. and she showed where the edits were hidden. Okay, and so to me, I feel like that particular video should have millions of views, because this is the main theme of that whole trial, was that they altered stuff. And so why are these channels not discussing her? The only one that did was Young Jurks. So I will give them 10 points for that, if you will. No, really, that's really the only reason I even went to their channel. Because people told me to go to their channel a long time ago. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look through your live streams. I'm going to look through your videos. And I'm going to see if you're covering the 71 count indictment. Because if you're not, I ain't got enough for you. Right? That's how I feel. And I'm not like trying to be offensive to those who like those particular channels. But that 71 count indictment should always have been a part of the conversation. Especially when they're talking about it's ridiculous. This was a big conspiracy, guys. This was huge. There was so many people. You have EMT who lied on her, and I feel bad for the O'Keeffes, and I know that a lot of people are angry at the O'Keeffes because they're like, how can they, they're saying all this stuff. But really and truly, you have to look at it on the amount of people that were saying, she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. And those words, they cannot get out of their head. Like, you've got firefighters and EMT on the scene. You've got friends they've been friends with. You've got cops. And they're all saying, despite she's on video the whole time and it's not there. And then, of course, there was a little bit of admission by, I think it was Carrie, who said that she didn't actually hear that. But that is so important, because when you have an amount of people who are literally conspiring, it's hard to believe. And I'm not gonna like judge people who still finding it hard to wrap around their head that this amount of people would sit there and lie. But when you have evidence, like altered videos with proof that it's altered, and she's been verified. You look in the comments on her channel, there's a lot of professionals, a lot of retired police officers, a lot of people that are in the tech field that she's in, verify her work, okay? And so, anywho's, but the 71 count indictment was so profound that you had cops with fellow cops, and troopers, fellow troopers, and firefighters, and their family members, and their friends, all conspiring in that criminal conspiracy to go along with falsifying records. Right? You could read those text messages, how malicious they are. To me, that is so important. That case is so important, and it will basically help those with doubt. Okay? Especially for people from around the world who are pitching in and spending money to help Karen Reed, with her legal fund. That's the kind of stuff that needs to be talked about. Why aren't these channels who are covering her case talking about that indictment? Not only will they not talk about it, even though their viewers requested to hear about it, why are they so dismissive? It's bizarre. It's just like, no, man, you're not going to tell me what mainstream media is, because I'm sorry, I'm going to break it down for you, okay? Mainstream media is not those local news outlets, okay? That's not who they are, right? And I think everybody needs to go to Dateline and 2020 and all these media sources and all these channels who won't talk about 71 count indictment. Like, why wouldn't they? Think about that. Why would that not be a part of the conversation? Why wouldn't it be? And go to Dateline and say, you're so fired. You went up there to talk about conspiracy theorists after she was acquitted, and you totally are going to ignore the 71 count indictment where 6 Massachusetts state troopers and other unidentified at this point troopers and cops and their family members and their friends conspire together in a criminal conspiracy. Like, it's just because it didn't involve murder doesn't mean that it doesn't show a pattern of behavior and willingness to literally commit crimes, and the maliciousness that they're going to make sure that person doesn't get their license because they don't like what they said. That ruined their life to not be able to get a license. It destroyed their business if that CDL license, they needed it for their business, right? That's how malicious they are. Anywho's, I just say, people, look, I'm just calling it as it is. And if people get mad, they can get mad. But I want to say thank you to all those who have shared the petition. And I know there's a lot of other petitions out there, but if you want the Department of Justice to get back in, start spending money, they are the ones that are going to have to go in to 34 Fairview Road and look for that blood in that house. They're the ones that's going to have to, because Abby, as far as I know, she's not working for the feds, right? So they're the ones that's going to have to do the analysis, pay some experts, use their own experts, whatever, and get these guys. So the petition that I did, in order to get the Department of Justice back on board, right, especially after we have slashing of federal budgets and agencies, you have to lay out new evidence. You have to give the statutes that they violated that gives the Department of Justice federal jurisdiction, right? You have to lay that out in the petition, okay? So, but thank you to all the thousands, the many thousands in support of this, and please don't give up hope, right? It's not over, and they're going to be accountable. And it's just like, please don't listen to these people that are lying and saying that the mainstream media covered the 71 count indictment, because they didn't. And I want, and this is why I keep talking about it, I want everybody to go to these mainstream media outlets and say, hey, stop talking smack about the Karen Reed case and using the words conspiracy theorists while you're hiding that 71 count indictment that shows clear pattern of malicious conspiracy against anybody that they don't like to hurt their businesses, which is their livelihood, and to basically conspire in criminal activity and falsify records. And not just that, guys. And I know that this is going to hit upon a lot of people here. If they did it to her, who others are they doing it to? And this isn't about just Karen Reed. And it's not just about John O'Keefe. This is about so many other people are being affected. And if they get by with what they're doing, right, and if this kind of behavior in the criminal justice system continues, then it's going to be really hard and harder for people. We have to stand up against them doing this to anybody. That's what I'm doing. This isn't just about Karen Reed case. But anyways, guys, I'm going to put the link to the petition in the description of this video. And I just ask you all to also, I'll put the link to the 71 count indictment for those who have not yet heard of it, because other people will not allow it to be discussed. Okay? Go take a look at that. And in the meantime, I hope you have a blessed 4th of July weekend.